One man's composure saved billions of lives, yet his name is barely mentioned in history books. He was a silent hero, and perhaps the only reason we are still here today is because of his courage. In 1962, the world stood on the brink of nuclear annihilation. The Cold War had reached its most dangerous moment. The United States discovered Soviet nuclear missiles in Cuba, just miles from its shores. President Kennedy demanded their removal. Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev refused. A tense naval blockade followed, with American warships prepared to intercept Soviet vessels. One wrong move could ignite a global catastrophe. Deep beneath the Atlantic, Soviet submarine B-59 moved silently through the abyss. Its crew was exhausted, cut off from all communication. They had no way of knowing what was happening above. Suddenly, the silence was shattered. Depth charges exploded around them. The Americans were trying to force them to surface. But inside the submarine, the crew believed they were under attack. The air was thick and hot. Oxygen was running low. Panic and exhaustion set in. Captain Valentin Savitsky was convinced war had already begun. Their only weapon? A nuclear torpedo. If launched, it would obliterate an American warship, triggering an unstoppable chain reaction. To fire, all three senior officers had to agree. Savitsky gave his approval. So did the second officer. Only one man stood in the way: Vasily Arkhipov. Alarms blared. The walls of the submarine seemed to close in. Time was slipping away. The weight of the world rested on his shoulders. Arkhipov took a breath. He knew they were making a terrible mistake. There was no proof that war had begun, no reason to fire. He stood firm. "No," he said. "We wait." A tense silence followed, but his presence, his certainty, made them hesitate. The minutes dragged on. Finally, after heated debate, Savitsky relented. The torpedo was never launched. B-59 surfaced, and the crisis came to an end. The world never knew how close it had come to destruction. No headlines, no medals, no parades. But perhaps the only reason we are still here today is because in that moment, one man refused to surrender to fear.